Good morning. I want to talk to you today about refusing negative seeds. You see, every day we have thoughts trying to take root in our minds. Some are good, thoughts of hope, confidence, and victory. But others, they're meant to hold us back. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and insecurity. The problem is we don't always recognize these negative seeds for what they are. We start to believe the lies. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Nothing good ever happens to me. But can I tell you, those are not your thoughts. They were planted by the enemy, hoping you would water them with attention. But today is a new day. It's time to take back control. You are the gatekeeper of your heart and mind. You don't have to let every negative word take root. You don't have to accept every criticism, every doubt, or every fear. You have the power to say, no, that's not for me. The scripture says, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. That means if you allow negative seeds to grow, they will choke out the good things God has planned for you. But if you refuse them, if you say, I am blessed, I am favored, I am victorious, then those words will take root instead. So today I challenge you, reject the negative and embrace the positive. Don't let someone else's opinion define you. Don't let fear hold you back. God has placed greatness inside you. And when you refuse negative seeds, you make room for the incredible harvest He has prepared. Get ready, because your best days are still ahead. Amen. Every day we are bombarded with thousands of thoughts, some positive, some negative. Some lift us up and remind us of our potential, while others seek to drag us down, making us question our worth and abilities. The truth is, we don't always have control over what thoughts come into our minds. Life brings challenges. People say things, circumstances arise, and before we know it, we are confronted with ideas and emotions that can either push us forward or hold us back. But while we may not have control over every thought that comes, we do have control over what stays. We are not powerless spectators in our own mind. We are the gatekeepers. Imagine your mind as a beautiful garden, a place where good things can grow. Faith, confidence, peace, joy, success. But just like any garden, weeds will try to sprout. These weeds come in the form of doubt, fear, negativity, and insecurity. If you are not careful, if you allow them to take root, they can quickly spread, overtaking the good things and choking out your potential. Think about a farmer preparing his field for a great harvest. He doesn't just throw seeds onto the soil and hope for the best. He carefully selects what he plants, making sure it will produce a fruitful outcome. He also knows that if he is not intentional, weeds will grow naturally. He doesn't have to invite them. They show up on their own. But a wise farmer doesn't ignore them. He pulls them out before they can take over. The same is true for us. We don't have to invite negative thoughts. They show up on their own. Someone makes a hurtful comment and suddenly we hear, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough. A situation doesn't go as planned and a voice whispers, see? You're always going to struggle. This is just how life is for you. We must recognize these thoughts for what they are. Seeds trying to take root in our minds. If we dwell on them, replay them, give them our energy, we are watering those seeds, allowing them to grow. But just as we have the power to allow negative thoughts to take root, we also have the power to reject them. We don't have to accept every thought that comes our way. We can be intentional about what we allow into the soil of our hearts and minds. When doubt comes, we can say, no, I refuse to believe that. I am capable, I am strong, I am equipped for this journey. When fear tries to creep in, we can respond. I will not live in anxiety. I am protected, I am guided, I am walking in confidence. It's not always easy. Sometimes we have spent years unknowingly allowing negative seeds to grow. They have become so deeply rooted that we assume they are just part of who we are. But the good news is, no matter how long a weed has been in the ground, it can still be pulled out. It may take effort, it may take time, but with consistency, we can clear out the thoughts that have been holding us back and make space for something better. We must also be mindful of who and what we allow to plant seeds in our minds. Just as a farmer is careful about where his seeds come from, we must be careful about what we expose ourselves to. Who are we listening to? What are we watching? What are we reading? If we constantly surround ourselves with negativity, we shouldn't be surprised when negativity takes root. If we are always around people who doubt, complain, and speak fear, those seeds will start to influence us. But when we are intentional about surrounding ourselves with faith, encouragement, and positivity, we create an environment where the right things can grow. We begin to fill our minds with words of life, strength, and hope. We start to believe that we are capable, that we are worthy, that we have a purpose. We become people who speak life into others as well, spreading seeds of encouragement instead of doubt. Think about the words you speak over yourself. Every time you declare something, you are planting a seed. If you keep saying, "I'll never succeed," you are watering that belief, and eventually it will produce results in your life. But if you start declaring, "I am successful, I am strong, I am moving forward," those words will also take root, and in time they will bear fruit. This is why we must take control of our thoughts, guard our minds, and be intentional about what we allow to take root. It is not always easy. Some days the weeds of negativity may seem overwhelming, but if we commit to being diligent, to pulling out the lies and replacing them with truth, we will begin to see a transformation. A healthy mind doesn't happen by accident. Just like a beautiful garden, it requires effort, attention, and care. It requires us to be watchful, to recognize when something doesn't belong, and to take action before it takes over. It requires us to choose daily what we will allow to grow and what we will refuse. So today, make the decision to take control of your thoughts. You don't have to accept every negative word spoken over you. You don't have to let doubt and fear take root. You have the power to choose what stays and what goes. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. And when you choose to plant the right seeds, you will see a harvest of blessing, success, and joy in your life. Throughout life, we encounter different voices and influences that try to shape the way we see ourselves in our future. Some of these voices speak encouragement, strength, and possibility, while others carry messages of limitation, fear, and doubt. The reality is not everything we hear is true, and not everything spoken over us is meant for our good. Many times, we unknowingly accept things that were never meant to define us. Perhaps someone told us when we were young that we weren't smart enough, strong enough, or talented enough. Maybe we faced rejection in our careers or relationships, and it left us feeling like we weren't valuable. Over time, if we are not careful, these words start to take root, shaping how we see ourselves and our potential. Just because a thought enters our mind does not mean we have to accept it. Many times what comes to us is designed to distract, discourage, or hold us back. But we have the ability to recognize what is true and what is meant to deceive us. Imagine if every negative statement, every criticism, every fearful thought that entered our minds was written down in front of us. Would we believe them all? Would we accept them as reality? Often we do not realize how many false ideas we have allowed to shape our thinking. Thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," "I always mess things up," or "I'll never achieve my dreams," are not facts. They are assumptions based on past experiences of the words of others. But just because something was said or experienced does not mean it is final. Think about a courtroom. A lawyer can present a case, but that does not mean the case is automatically true. There must be evidence, facts, and a final judgment. In the same way, just because a thought presents itself to us does not mean we should immediately believe it. We need to ask, where is the evidence? Is this really true? If we take a step back, we may realize that many of the things we have believed about ourselves are based on fear rather than truth. Someone may have told us we wouldn't succeed, but that was only their opinion. A difficult moment may have made us feel like we were incapable, but that was just a temporary situation. If we are not careful, we can build our entire lives on things that were never meant to define us. One of the biggest challenges is that these ideas often disguise themselves as facts. We assume that because we feel something, it must be true. If we feel afraid, we think danger is ahead. If we feel insecure, we assume we must be lacking. But emotions are not always accurate indicators of reality. They reflect how we are processing a moment, but they do not determine what is possible. The key is to separate what we feel from what is true. We may feel unqualified for a challenge, but that does not mean we cannot succeed. We may feel like we are falling behind, but that does not mean we are out of time. Feelings are real, but they are not always the final word. Another way these ideas take root is through repetition. The more we hear something, the more likely we are to believe it. If we constantly hear messages of discouragement, over time, they start to feel familiar. This is why we must be intentional about what we allow into our minds. Think about how music works. When we hear a song multiple times, we begin to remember the lyrics effortlessly. Even if we weren't trying to memorize it, repetition made it stay in our minds. The same happens with the thoughts we entertain. If we repeatedly dwell on fear, worry, and self-doubt, those messages become ingrained in us. But if we choose to repeat words of confidence, strength, and purpose, those messages will become the ones that shape our thinking. It is important to recognize where certain ideas come from. Some thoughts enter our minds simply because of past experiences, but others are planted by external influences. The words spoken over us, the content we consume, and the people we surround ourselves with all play a role in shaping our beliefs. If we are constantly around people who speak negatively, it is no surprise when we start to think the same way. If we are always watching or listening to things that promote fear and discouragement, those messages will begin to feel natural. This is why it is so important to be mindful of what we expose ourselves to. Just as we would protect our physical health by avoiding harmful substances, we must protect our minds by filtering the messages we accept. If something does not align with the truth of who we are and what we are capable of, we do not have to entertain it. We have the ability to push it aside and replace it with something better. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. If you look into it and see a distorted image, you wouldn't accept it as accurate. You would know something was wrong with the reflection. In the same way, when we are faced with thoughts that do not reflect our true potential, we must remind ourselves that they are not reality. The key is to replace false ideas with truth. We do this by speaking words of strength and confidence over ourselves. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," we declare, "I am equipped and capable." Instead of saying, "I always fail," we affirm, "I learn from every experience, and I am growing stronger." This shift does not happen overnight, but with practice, it becomes a habit. The more we reject ideas that do not serve us, the easier it becomes to recognize when something is not true. The more we affirm positive, life-giving words, the more naturally they will come to us. Ultimately, we have the power to decide what takes root in our minds. We are not at the mercy of every thought, every criticism, or every doubt. We can stand firm, knowing that just because something is presented to us does not mean we have to accept it. When we choose to embrace truth and reject false ideas, we position ourselves for growth, success, and fulfillment. Every day we are given a choice about what we allow to influence us. Some influences bring hope, strength, and encouragement, while others plant discouragement, fear, and doubt. The voices we listen to and the thoughts we dwell on shape our perspective and ultimately our future. It's easy to go through life absorbing whatever comes our way without realizing the impact it has on us. But if we are intentional, we can decide what we allow to take root in our minds and hearts. When we encounter negative experiences, it is natural to feel disappointed or discouraged. Maybe someone spoke harsh words and those words stayed with us. Maybe we faced a setback and it made us question whether we were on the right path. When we go through difficulty, the easiest thing to do is to replay those moments over and over in our minds, letting them shape the way we see ourselves. But dwelling on negativity does not change the situation. It only deepens its effect on us. We have the power to shift our focus and choose what we allow to stay in our minds. Just because a thought enters does not mean we have to keep it. When negative words are spoken, we can decide not to replay them. When a situation makes us doubt, we can redirect our thoughts toward hope. Imagine if every thought and word were a seed being planted in a garden. If we plant strong, life-giving seeds, we will eventually see the fruit of those seeds in our lives. But if we allow negative seeds to take root, they will grow as well. We may not see the effects immediately, but over time, what we water and nurture will begin to show. It is important to recognize that negativity does not always come from others. It often comes from within. The way we speak to ourselves matters. If we constantly remind ourselves of mistakes, failures, and disappointments, we reinforce a mindset of defeat. But if we speak words of encouragement, possibility, and faith, we strengthen a mindset of growth and success. Many people do not realize that they have been speaking negatively over their own lives. They say things like, "I'll never be good at this," "Things never work out for me," or "I'm just not lucky." These words may seem harmless, but they shape the way we think and act. Over time, they create patterns that influence our choices, our confidence, and even the opportunities we pursue. But just as we have unknowingly reinforced negative thoughts, we can intentionally replace them with positive, empowering ones. When faced with a challenge, instead of saying, "I can't do this," we can say, "I will find a way." Instead of saying, "I always fail," we can say, "Every experience teaches me and helps me grow." Speaking positively is not about ignoring reality. It is about choosing to focus on what is possible. It is about recognizing that no matter what we have been through, there is still room for growth, improvement, and success. It is about training our minds to see solutions instead of problems, opportunities instead of obstacles. This shift in perspective can transform the way we handle difficulties. When something does not go as planned, instead of dwelling on disappointment, we can look for lessons and possibilities. Instead of feeling stuck, we can remind ourselves that there is always a way forward. Sometimes negativity comes from the people around us. We may have friends, family members, or coworkers who are always speaking doubt and discouragement. They may mean well, but their words can shape the way we see ourselves and our potential. It is important to surround ourselves with people who encourage, uplift, and believe in us. When we spend time with those who speak life and possibility, we absorb their energy and mindset. We start to see ourselves in a more positive light. We gain the confidence to pursue our goals and dreams. This does not mean that we should ignore every challenge or pretend problems do not exist. Life brings difficulties, and there will always be moments that test us. But we do not have to let those moments define us. We do not have to let negativity be the loudest voice in our minds. When we make the decision to focus on hope, faith, and strength, we begin to see changes in our lives. The way we approach challenges shifts. The way we see ourselves improves. We start to recognize that we are capable, that we are strong, that we are moving forward. This is not a one-time choice. It is a daily practice. Every day, we must choose what we allow to take root. Every day, we must decide to push aside doubt and embrace confidence. The more we practice, the easier it becomes. There will always be moments when negativity tries to return. A difficult situation may arise, and old patterns of thinking may try to resurface. But when we have trained our minds to focus on the positive, we will be ready. We will recognize negativity for what it is, a distraction meant to hold us back. And instead of dwelling on it, we will shift our focus to what truly matters. This choice will not only affect us, but also those around us. When we live with confidence and hope, we inspire others to do the same. We become the kind of people who encourage, uplift, and strengthen those we interact with. We spread an energy that helps others see possibilities instead of limitations. The truth is, we have more control over our thoughts than we realize. We do not have to accept every negative word spoken over us. We do not have to dwell on every doubt or fear that crosses our minds. We can actively choose what we allow to stay and what we let go of. When we make this choice consistently, we build a mindset that is strong, resilient, and full of possibility. We start to see progress in areas where we once felt stuck. We gain the confidence to pursue opportunities that once felt out of reach. We move forward with the assurance that no matter what challenges come our way, we have the strength to overcome them. This is the power of choosing what we focus on. When we are intentional about the words we speak and the thoughts we entertain, we create an environment for success, growth, and fulfillment. We set ourselves on a path toward the life we were meant to live. Life is filled with challenges, obstacles, and moments that test our strength. At times, it may feel as though we are constantly facing resistance, whether in our personal lives, careers, relationships, or dreams. It is in these moments that our response becomes crucial. We can either allow the difficulties to define us, or we can make the decision to rise above them. The key lies in understanding that external circumstances do not have the power to control us unless we allow them to. When we encounter negativity, whether in the form of discouraging words, disappointments, or setbacks, it's easy to absorb it and make it part of our identity. We may start believing that we are not good enough, that we are not capable, that our dreams are too big. But the truth is, the opinions of others and the difficulties we face do not determine our worth or our potential. Imagine a storm passing through a city. The wind may be strong, the rain may pour, and for a moment it may seem as though everything is being shaken. But after the storm passes, the buildings that were built on a strong foundation remain standing. They may have endured heavy rain and strong winds, but they did not collapse. In the same way, when we stand firm in our beliefs, in our strength, in our purpose, no matter what negativity comes our way, we will remain standing. One of the most important things to realize is that negativity only has power over us if we give it permission. When someone speaks doubt over our dreams, we can either accept it and allow it to take root, or we can choose to reject it and stay focused on our vision. When a challenge arises, we can either let it make us feel defeated, or we can decide to use it as an opportunity to grow stronger. The choice is always ours. It is easy to let negative experiences shape the way we see ourselves. Perhaps someone criticized us in the past, and now, whenever we try something new, we hear that voice telling us we are not good enough. Perhaps we faced failure once, and now we believe we will always fail. But just because something happened before does not mean it has to define what happens next. Our past does not dictate our future. Just because we faced difficulty yesterday does not mean we cannot succeed today. Just because we struggled in one area of life does not mean we are destined to struggle forever. Every day is a new opportunity to choose a different mindset, to make a different decision, to take a different action. Negativity often works by repetition. The more we hear something, the more we believe it. If we constantly tell ourselves that we are not good enough, eventually we start to act as though it is true. If we dwell on every failure, we become afraid to try again. But just as negativity can shape us, so can positivity. When we make a habit of speaking strength, confidence, and determination into our lives, we begin to believe those things. We start to walk with assurance, knowing that we are capable, that we are moving forward, that we have what it takes to succeed. Think about an athlete training for a competition. They do not allow setbacks to define them. If they lose a race, they do not give up on their training. Instead, they analyze what went wrong, adjust their strategy, and come back stronger. They do not listen to the voices that say they are not fast enough or skilled enough. They keep their focus on their goal, knowing that with dedication and persistence, they will improve. The same principle applies to life. When we face challenges, we must remind ourselves that they are not permanent. A bad day does not mean a bad life. A failure does not mean the end of the road. Instead of letting negativity take root, we must use it as fuel to push forward, to grow, and to prove to ourselves that we are stronger than any obstacle we face. This requires intentional effort. It is not always easy to ignore negativity, especially when it comes from people we care about. Sometimes those closest to us may not see our vision, and their words may be discouraging. But we must remember that their perspective is limited to their own experiences and fears. Just because they do not believe in something does not mean it is impossible. Throughout history, some of the greatest achievements have come from individuals who refused to accept negativity. Many successful people were told they would never succeed, that their dreams were unrealistic, that they were not talented enough. But they chose to believe in themselves despite the negativity. They chose to keep going, to work harder, to prove that nothing is impossible when you are determined. We must do the same. We must make a daily decision to reject negativity and embrace possibility. When doubt arises, we must counter it with belief. When fear tries to creep in, we must replace it with courage. When others speak discouragement, we must remind ourselves that their words do not define our destiny. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending that difficulties do not exist. It is about choosing where we place our focus. If we constantly dwell on the negative, we will feel defeated. But if we shift our focus to what is possible, to what we can do, to the opportunities ahead, we will feel empowered. Over time, this mindset becomes a way of life. The more we practice rejecting negativity, the stronger we become. The more we affirm our strength and worth, the more confident we feel. The more we refuse to let outside voices dictate our future, the more we take control of our own destiny. The truth is, negativity will always exist. There will always be challenges. There will always be doubts. There will always be people who do not see our vision. But none of that has to stop us. When we choose to stand firm, to reject discouragement, to push forward despite the obstacles, we position ourselves for success. So today, make the decision to take control. Do not allow negativity to take root in your mind or heart. Recognize your strength, your value, your purpose. Know that no challenge is too great, no doubt is too strong, no setback is too final. You have everything you need to rise above, to move forward, and to accomplish the dreams that are in your heart. Throughout life, we are constantly presented with different perspectives, voices, and experiences. Some of these uplift us, build our confidence, and push us towards success. Others, however, attempt to hold us back, filling our minds with doubt, fear, and insecurity. The challenge we face is learning how to filter out the voices that do not serve us while embracing the ones that lead us forward. It is easy to absorb negativity without even realizing it. Sometimes it comes from the people around us, friends, family, or colleagues who mean well but do not understand our potential. Other times, it comes from past failures, disappointments, or painful experiences that left an imprint on our minds. If we are not careful, we begin to accept these negative influences as truth. We start to believe that we are limited, that we are not good enough, that our dreams are out of reach. But the truth is, not everything we hear or experience should shape our beliefs. Just because someone has an opinion does not mean it is correct. Just because we have faced a challenge does not mean we are incapable of success. The key is learning to separate what is useful from what is harmful, what builds us up from what tears us down. Imagine walking through a marketplace where vendors are calling out, each one trying to sell something different. Some offer high-quality goods, while others push things that are cheap and ineffective. If we are not careful, we might buy something that we do not need or that does not serve us well. The same is true with the voices we listen to in life. Not every opinion, not every criticism, not every piece of advice is worth accepting. We must become selective about what we allow into our minds and hearts. If a thought or statement does not align with our goals, our values, and our growth, we have the right to dismiss it. We do not have to entertain every doubt, every fear, or every negative word spoken over us. Instead, we must choose to focus on the words, ideas, and beliefs that empower us, that give us strength, that help us move forward. One of the biggest challenges people face is overcoming the influence of past experiences. Perhaps we failed at something before and now we hesitate to try again. Maybe we were told at a young age that we were not talented or intelligent enough, and those words still echo in our mind. These past experiences can act as barriers, keeping us from stepping into new opportunities, new relationships, and new levels of success. But the past does not have to define the future. Just because something happened once does not mean it will happen again. Every moment is a fresh opportunity to move forward with new strength, new wisdom, and new confidence. We are not the same people we were years ago. We have grown, learned, and developed. We must remind ourselves that we are constantly evolving, and that means we are capable of achieving things we once thought impossible. Another powerful way to filter out negativity is by surrounding ourselves with the right people. The company we keep has a profound impact on our mindset and our self-belief. If we are constantly around individuals who doubt, criticize, and discourage us, their negativity will eventually take a toll. But when we surround ourselves with those who believe in us, encourage us, and push us toward greatness, we become stronger, more confident, and more resilient. This does not mean we should cut people out of our lives unnecessarily. It simply means we should be mindful of how much influence we allow certain voices to have over us. We can choose to limit our exposure to negativity while increasing our connection to those who uplift and inspire us. Think about a garden. If we want healthy, vibrant plants, we must remove the weeds that try to take over. We must provide the right soil, water, and sunlight. In the same way, if we want a healthy, successful mindset, we must remove the negativity that tries to take root and nourish ourselves with positivity, wisdom, and encouragement. Our inner dialogue also plays a crucial role in this process. Often, the most damaging words are not the ones spoken by others, but the ones we speak to ourselves. If we constantly tell ourselves that we are not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough, we create a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if we replace those negative thoughts with words of confidence, strength, and determination, we set ourselves up for success. It is not about pretending that challenges do not exist. Life will always bring obstacles, setbacks, and difficult moments, but we get to decide how we respond to them. We can either let them defeat us or use them as stepping stones towards something greater. This process requires intentional effort. It takes practice to catch negative thoughts before they take root. It takes discipline to distance ourselves from voices that do not serve us. It takes courage to believe in ourselves despite past failures or external doubt. But the more we practice, the easier it becomes. Over time, we develop a strong mindset, one that is not easily shaken by outside negativity. We learn to trust our own abilities, to see challenges as opportunities for growth, and to stay focused on our purpose. We become more resilient, more confident, and more capable of achieving our goals. This shift does not just affect us, it also influences those around us. When we choose to filter out negativity and embrace positivity, we become a source of encouragement for others. Our strength inspires those who may be struggling. Our confidence helps others believe in themselves. Our determination creates a ripple effect, uplifting everyone we encounter. The truth is, we are in control of what we allow into our minds and hearts. We do not have to accept every negative word, every discouraging thought, every limiting belief. We can make the conscious choice to focus on what builds us up, what strengthens us, what propels us forward. So today, make the decision to take control. Be intentional about the voices you listen to, the thoughts you dwell on, and the people you surround yourself with. Filter out the negativity and make room for words of confidence, encouragement, and possibility. As you do this, you will find yourself becoming stronger, more focused, and more unstoppable than ever before. Life is a journey filled with choices. Choices about how we think, how we respond, and what we allow to shape our future. Every day we are given the opportunity to decide what we hold on to and what we let go of. Some thoughts, experiences, and influences propel us forward, filling us with confidence and determination. Others attempt to hold us back, keeping us trapped in cycles of doubt, fear, and negativity. The key to lasting growth and success lies in mastering the ability to release what does not serve us. It is human nature to dwell on certain experiences, especially those that were painful or discouraging. Maybe someone spoke words that hurt us, and those words replay in our minds long after they were spoken. Maybe we faced a failure, and instead of learning from it, we relive the moment over and over again, convincing ourselves that we are not capable of success. The problem with holding on to these negative experiences is that they take up mental and emotional space. Space that could be used for growth, creativity, and confidence. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with bricks. Each brick represents a negative experience, a hurtful comment, a past failure, or a self-doubt that we have held on to. With each passing day, as we refuse to let go of these burdens, the weight becomes heavier. We may try to move forward, but the load slows us down, making every step more difficult than it needs to be. But the moment we start removing those bricks, letting go of the negativity we have carried, we begin to feel lighter. We gain momentum. We move with greater ease toward our goals. One of the biggest obstacles to progress is the inability to release what no longer serves us. Some people hold on to past disappointments, allowing them to define their future. Others cling to negative words spoken by people who had no right to determine their potential. But true freedom comes when we recognize that we are not bound by what has happened before. The past is a lesson, not a prison. We have the power to take what we have learned and move forward, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. Letting go is not always easy, especially when we have spent years reinforcing certain thought patterns. But just as we can train our bodies to become stronger, we can train our minds to release negativity. It begins with awareness, recognizing the thoughts and beliefs that are holding us back. If we find ourselves replaying a negative experience, we must ask, does this thought serve me? Is it helping me move forward, or is it keeping me stuck? If it is not serving us, then it is time to let it go. Another powerful way to release negativity is through forgiveness. Many people carry resentment toward those who have wronged them, thinking that holding on to anger somehow gives them power. But the truth is, resentment does not harm the person who caused the pain. It only harms the one who carries it. It creates a mental and emotional barrier that keeps us from experiencing true peace and joy. Forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior. It is about freeing ourselves from the weight of carrying past hurts. It is a decision to no longer allow someone else's actions to dictate our emotions or our future. Letting go also means releasing fear. Fear is one of the greatest barriers to success, keeping us from stepping into new opportunities, taking risks, and pursuing our dreams. Fear whispers, what if you fail? What if you are not good enough? What if things do not work out? But when we let go of fear, we replace it with faith. Faith in our abilities, faith in our strength, faith in the possibility of something greater. Every successful person has faced fear, but instead of letting it stop them, they chose to move forward despite it. Another thing we must release is the need for approval. Many people go through life seeking validation from others, allowing their self-worth to be determined by outside opinions. But the truth is, not everyone will understand our vision. Not everyone will believe in our dreams. If we constantly seek approval, we give away our power. True confidence comes when we realize that we do not need permission to pursue our goals. We do not need everyone to agree with our choices. What matters most is that we believe in ourselves and move forward with determination. Letting go is also about releasing the habit of comparison. In today's world, it is easy to look at others and feel as though we are not measuring up. We see someone else's success and wonder why we are not further along. But comparison is a distraction that robs us of joy and motivation. Each person is on a unique journey with their own timing and challenges. The only person we should compare ourselves to is who we were yesterday. If we are growing, learning, and improving, then we are on the right path. One of the most powerful aspects of letting go is the freedom it brings. When we release negativity, we create space for positivity. When we let go of self-doubt, we make room for confidence. When we stop dwelling on the past, we open ourselves to new possibilities. This shift in mindset allows us to approach life with renewed energy, focus, and determination. Letting go does not mean we ignore reality or pretend challenges do not exist. It simply means we choose not to be defined by them. We acknowledge our struggles, but we refuse to let them shape our future. We recognize past failures, but we do not let them dictate what we are capable of achieving. We understand that difficulties will arise, but we do not allow them to steal our joy or our purpose. This mindset is something we must practice daily. Each day we have the opportunity to release thoughts that do not serve us and replace them with thoughts that empower us. When doubt arises, we replace it with confidence. When fear tries to take hold, we remind ourselves of our strength. When negativity comes our way, we choose not to let it take root. Over time, as we continue this practice, we develop an unshakable resilience. We become the kind of person who is not easily discouraged, who faces challenges with courage, who moves through life with confidence and purpose. And as we grow, we inspire others to do the same. The truth is, we are not meant to carry the weight of negativity. We are meant to move freely, to live fully, to embrace the possibilities ahead. When we let go of what does not serve us, we step into a new level of strength, clarity, and success. So today, make the decision to release the things that are holding you back. Let go of past disappointments, negative words, and self-doubt. Free yourself from the weight of fear and the need for approval. Choose to move forward with confidence, knowing that your best days are still ahead. Life is a journey filled with opportunities, challenges, and choices. Every day we are given the power to decide what we accept into our minds and what we refuse to let take root. We cannot always control what happens around us, the words spoken by others, the setbacks we face, or the difficulties that arise. But we can control how we respond. We can choose to reject negativity, to refuse the seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, and instead cultivate a mindset of strength, confidence, and faith. The voices we listen to shape our reality. If we allow negativity to settle in our hearts, it will influence our decisions, our actions, and our future. But when we filter out the harmful words, the discouraging thoughts, and the limiting beliefs, we make room for something greater. We open the door to growth, success, and fulfillment. Letting go of negativity is not always easy. It requires intentional effort, daily practice, and the courage to stand firm in our own belief. It means walking away from voices that do not serve us, stepping beyond past failures, and releasing the weight of self-doubt. But the reward is freedom. The freedom to rise above obstacles, to pursue our dreams without hesitation, and to live a life filled with purpose and joy. You were not created to live in fear. You were not meant to be weighed down by the opinions of others or the disappointments of the past. You have within you everything you need to succeed, to overcome, and to become the best version of yourself. So today, make the choice to refuse negativity. Reject the seeds of doubt. Uproot the thoughts that hold you back. Instead, plant seeds of faith, confidence, and determination. Speak life over your dreams. Believe in your abilities and surround yourself with voices that encourage and uplift you. As you do this, you will step into a new season of strength, purpose, and success. One where you are no longer held back, but propelled forward into the incredible future that awaits you.